Okay.
Yeah, good evening, Nigeria. This is Jump Out Nigeria, a program you will always want to listen to because this is not the status quo. It is not what you are used to. We talk about Nigeria, but not in a biased way. And we don't put our personal opinion here. We talk about Nigeria as it's very important for us to do at this moment in this history of our nation. My name is Taye Charles Sokun, and I must always confess to you, it's always a pleasure to be with you as I always come with some very germane and you can call it also important topics that has to do with the future of Nigeria and of course its citizens. I don't always come on this show alone, and I come with people who know exactly what to tell you as it affects you right now and also in the future. I have a topic we're going to be talking about today, which is about our out of season elections in Nigeria. And if possible, do they have any toxic influences on our democracy? We've been trying to keep this together for years. We know since 1999, we've been on this journey of democracy, and how have we fared long enough. How have we fared so far? And is it so good? Tonight, I have two important guests in the house. Like I said, first of all, I have with me this evening a graduate of the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, a personality with an impressive media and communication skills. He's a guru when it comes to news writing, editing, public relations, and all put together. You can by no means having any doubt in your mind when you call him a veteran journalist. Please welcome with me Dr. Hassan Gimba, a publisher and editor-in-chief of Neptune Network. Good evening, Doctor. Okay, Doctor, I think you need to unmute your mic so that we can hear you. And just okay, can you hear me, Doctor? Okay. I think we need to do something about that. Doctor, we need to hear you. And I also have, as you can rightly see, I have with me a member of the 10th Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, the chairman of Senate Committee on Agriculture, Colleges and Institutions, and also a vice chairman, Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters. I have with me Senator Adeniyi Adegbomiri, representing the people of Ondo Central Constituency in Ondo State. You're welcome, Senator.
Thank you very much, Tai. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, it's so nice and very humbling to have great men like you on the show today. It's an honor for me and, of course, to all the viewers. And for everyone watching right now, I salute you for having the courage to watch the issues that has to do with Nigeria. Of course, we cannot forget our nation. So thank you for joining and thank you for watching. Thank you. I can see the likes. I can see the love. Begin to send in your comments and your opinion. You can also like, you can share, and you can send in your comments on this. As we give every other person out there an opportunity to be with us on this show and make their own voice to be heard. I'm going to start with our Senator Adeniyi, please. The first question for tonight, we still go around. I will also ask Doctor the same question. But what I want to ask is just straightforward from the topic of tonight. Do you think the out of season elections we have in Nigeria have any toxic consequence on our democracy?
Thank you, Tai. I don't think so. I think
great.
In compliance with the provisions of the Constitution.
Okay.
The Constitution is clear as the tenure of governors. It says it shall be 4 years from the date on which the oath of office was taken.
Yes.
So your 4 years starts to run from the day the oath of office was taken. And the truth of the matter, I keep saying to people that when you look at the Electoral Act, Section 134, I think, talks about the three ways by which you can challenge an election. And one of them is that the person declared as winner did not win lawful votes, operating what's lawful votes.
Okay.
the truth of the matter is that if at the end of the day you were to go to a tribunal and the court feels that who was declared by INEC did not win the lawful vote, then what it means is that, as they say in democracy, the minority will have their say and the majority would have their way. What it means is that you were not elected by the majority of persons, and therefore you didn't. And therefore, the person who is adjudged to have won by lawful votes then should be sworn in. So it's part of democracy. I don't say anything toxic about it. In fact, I think it enhances democracy because it allows lawful votes to be counted and allows people to assume office based on lawful votes only.
Oh, great. Wow, that was a very snap one. And I cannot say anything until Doctor has his own say. He is a veteran journalist. He has been, taking note of elections in Nigeria, possibly been part of it. And I would like to know what you think, Doctor. And right now, I think your mic is still muted. Before you get to talk, can you please unmute your mic so that we can hear you? So I would like to ask you the same question, Doctor. Do you think, with all your observations and all you've read, all you've monitored, and all you have been part of in Nigerian elections, do you think that there is any negative consequence for all these out-of-season elections we've been having, and we might also continue to have as a nation? Okay, Doctor, I think your mic is still muted. I think we need to help you unmute that. Can you check your screen and unmute your mic? Okay, while we help Doctor to unmute his mic, let me continue with Senator so that we can get to hear from Doctor again. You talked about getting the lawful votes to be counted. That is why we had some governors who were hitherto sacked by a court that has the jurisdiction to take care of that situation, either appeal courts or Supreme Court or whatever court it was in different situations that we had. Do you think that it is fair on the people who voted these people in to have a court be the one to be the judge on their votes? Why can't you just decide? Why must it be that the bench should be the last resort to tell us that we did what was right?
Tai, I think there's a misconception of how the electoral process works.
Oh, great.
Everywhere, and let's use America as an example, because they also practice the presidential system of government in America. Okay. In America, people go to court, and if you remember the celebrated case of Al Gore and Bush. Yes. In that election, Al Gore went to court to challenge the outcome of the election in a particular, if I remember correctly, in Florida, Miami, Florida. He challenged it on the basis that lawful votes had not been properly counted and that he wanted the recount. So in every democracy, actually, there is always a provision for a challenge to election results. So Nigeria is no different. It happens everywhere in the world. Two, like I said earlier, in the Electoral Act, and is the law anywhere in the world, you are voted in validly and lawfully by lawful votes cast at the election. Okay. Let's not misunderstand that. Lawful votes cast by election. And I give you a simple example. Okay. Are you saying to me that if somebody were to stuff ballot boxes, okay, with already completed ballot papers, were to violate the tenets of BVS, okay, and then he's declared the winner, he surely hasn't won by lawful votes. And therefore, that result cannot be a representation of the desire of the persons that voted in that election. Okay. And because the law understands that such instances may occur, it gives room for anybody who participated in the election to challenge the outcome. And it lays down 3 instances in which you can challenge an election. So if you think you fall within that ambit of challenge, of course you go to court. Now, the court also has a criteria for determining election petitions. If they believe that you'll be able to prove any of the three legs upon which you can challenge an election, then of course the consequences will follow. And one of the consequences is that the person who is said to have had lawful votes will then be declared the person lawfully elected.
Wow.
So let's understand that. It's not as if the court just sits down and says, Mr. X, you are now the governor.
Okay.
There is a criteria for determining that. And the law allows you to challenge an election. So what we have in Nigeria is not strange. It happens everywhere in the world where the elections are done by voting. So when we say the courts get to decide, the court doesn't get to decide, in my opinion. The court determines who is governor in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act.
Okay.
Because the Electoral Act itself recognizes that there could be problems during election. I don't want to start using legal terminology to make it simple. But there may be problems in the process of voting and collating results.
Okay.
And says, if you think there is one that has substantially affected the election, the outcome of the election,
substantially,
you can complain as somebody who participated in the election. And if the court then finds that your complaint is well grounded in accordance with the law, it will then declare you as having been lawfully elected. So it's, for me, it's not the court that determines. If you don't challenge any election, the courts won't go to your house and say, come and challenge the election. It is when you challenge, and the court then determines it based on your challenge and your reasons for the challenge. If they find it you haven't proven it, then they give the elections. If you haven't proven it, your petition is dismissed. It's as simple as that, really.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Adeniyi. It is great to have Dr. Hassan back. Like I was about asking you the other time, the question for the night, the first one for that matter, talk straight to the topic of tonight. Do you think, in your experience as a journalist, taking part in observing Nigerian elections so far since 1999, do you think that all these out-of-season elections we have currently in Nigeria would by any means have any negative or toxic influences on our democracy?
Well, thank you, Tai, and I want to apologize for the glitch earlier.
No, it's great.
Thank you, Senator. Happy to meet you. And I enjoyed what you have said so far. Now, it all depends on what you think or what you mean by toxic. But if I am to put in a word or two, I think there is a problem where we have these off-season elections. You see, we have a problem always where you have a judge after somebody has been sworn in. When you cast your mind back to 1979, all the election petitions were concluded before they were sworn in. But this Electoral Act now gives 180 days, then appeal 60 days. By the time you go through these things, those who have been adjudged to have won the election must have been in office. One, there is the issue of when you bring natural justice into play, somebody has started enjoying something and now you are going to take it away from him. But not minding that on a broader scale, you are not being fair to three sets of people. The first person you are not being fair to is the person who is said to have lost, because he is now fighting someone who is on a seat and can use all the resources at his disposal, looking at our antecedents, to remain in office. So he is fighting a Herculean task. The second person you are not being fair to is the person who has been said to have won. As a human being, there is the natural human instinct for survival. You use whatever is at your disposal to survive. And politics is a matter of survival. That is to say, to survive politically. Therefore, people who don't have conscience can turn state resources to use and remain in office. And the third person you are not being fair to is the judge. This is somebody who is now adjudicating against someone who can appoint or dismiss him. Now, we do not have the culture. I don't know if you look at how things are in Nigeria now, people are crying about judges. Even recently, a former NBA president of Nigeria at the International Bar Association conference said the recruitment process of our judges is now flawed. The way they now appoint judges is not how it's supposed to be. And when you look at judges, how they now use a lot of technicalities, at times even fighting for those in power more than those outside power, even bringing points that their lawyers have not brought, or even using arms. When you look at Kano, for instance, the judge was even saying bandits, political bandits in red cap. When you look at what happened in Oshun, somebody was saying you cannot buga yourself to the government house. I mean, these are personal things that the judge is supposed to be neutral about. Therefore, all election petitions should be concluded before inauguration. That's one. Now, the more you continue, we now have about 6-7 states with off-season elections. If you continue like that, just as President Jonathan recently said, a time will come when even the presidential election will be off-season. Because if you find a resolute judiciary that will now look at things on merit, and now they say president has not been elected, there must be a rerun or something like that, then you have now changed the timetable for the election instead of doing it as a whole. Because if we wanted to fine-tune our methods of election like INEC, now we say, okay, 36 states, very difficult, very cumbersome. Now they have just one state or 2 states or 3 states, Kogi, Imo, for instance, Bayelsa. So they will now concentrate all their forces and now make corrections of the lapses they observed during general elections. Then we will not expect to have a better election. What can you say the election that happened in Kogi is something to write home about for politics? Therefore, the toxicity you are talking about is there. So we have to do something to positivize our politics.
Okay, I can see that Senator is already smiling. Of course, he is a senior advocate of Nigeria and a senator who has gone through the hot seat of what electorate can do to a politician and is our future. But let me quickly take us through a background like Dr. has rightly, put in perspective. Let's start from Ondo State. We had Governor Olusegun Mimiko and Olusegun Agagu. In that year, the court that sat in the Edo State, in Benin to be precise, took Agagu away from the seat and replaced him with Olusegun Mimiko. And we remember how that went. Agagu spent about a year and 318 days in office. And like Doctor said, it's not fair when you've been called Your Excellency and then all of a sudden you are booted out of office. How would you feel? And talking about, is it fair, is it not fair? That determines what you have done while going for the elections. Let's go again to another state where you would have to, say some other things that has to do with our elections in Nigeria. We'll see another state, Ekiti State. Of course, that is a nearby state to Ondo State. You can remember the history of Segun and Fayose, these two politicians. It was not something that was easy around that time. And in 2006, remember how Segun was said or told brutally to leave office and was replaced by Fayose. And that story still lingers. Anyone who remember will talk about it. And let's go to Bayelsa State. We had, after Jonathan left office, we had Tim Silva who took over. And in 2020, we remember what happened to that seat. The receiver was asked to pack his baggage and he had to leave office. And that was not the end of it. Even in Imo State, we had Leon Imoke. You can remember the story of what happened in that state. Ihedioha had to, do some stuff because the court or the bench, as it were, said he had to leave at that time. Kogi State was not spared of this because right now, of course, we know we have also an out of season election in Kogi State. Ibrahim Idris would not forget that he was also sacked from office. And we'll talk about the consequences of these elections. We have more states, and I would like to just ask this question. Senator, as a legal practitioner, and who also doubles as a politician, a successful one at that, do you think, like Doctor said, it is fair for a person who has been referred to as the executive governor, with the entourage and the beauty, the glamour of the office, now to be said, okay, you have to pack your baggage? Do you think it's fair?
With respect to you and Doctor,
Okay.
The law is the law. You see, let's leave sentiments and all of that out of here.
Okay.
And so let's paint a scenario. I have rigged an election.
Okay.
And I become governor. So in real sense, I don't have the mandate of the people. So I'm enjoying the pomp and pageantry and perks of office. Unlawfully. I emphasize unlawfully. What is unfair to me when I'm told to leave the office that I did not win an election into? In fact, the reverse is what is unfair to the electorate because they did not vote for it. So where I have occupied an office unlawfully, I cannot be talking about fairness. That, I now have to leave the office. In the first place, I ought not to be there because I didn't win the election. So let's understand that. Okay. Where you have won an election, you cannot be talking about the system not being fair to you. In fact, you are the one that has been unfair to the system for violating the tenets of democracy. So let's understand that. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. Let us separate what the law is and what the law ought to be.
Oh, great.
What is the law today? The law today is being practiced the way the law has been written. Is there a need to amend the law to take care of some of these lapses? The answer is yes.
Oh,
now,
great.
I did speak to a few people about a week and I said, look, as far as I'm concerned, I think the solution to this is simple this. We have the Electoral Act today that says, if you look at it, you have your primaries. Now, there's a gap of between 8 and 10 months before the election. As far as I'm concerned, that period should be abridged to give more room for election petitions. So what you should have is to say, if you had your primaries in April, election should be at the best, farthest, June.
Okay.
So let's take Ondo State as an example. Our primaries are slated for April 2024. The elections are on the 13th of November 2024. The swearing-in is in February 2025. So you have 8 months of what? Politicking.
Yeah.
Why can't we say your primaries will be April, the elections will be in July? So between July and February 2024, you have enough time to conclude all election matters. That for me should be the solution. But today, the law is the law. And I tell you, if we keep talking about this office and looking at it from the fairness point of view,
okay.
Look, one thing I repeat about democracy is the majority will always have their way. Now, that majority must be
right or not.
That majority must be lawfully determined because their decision binds those who are in the minority also. And therefore, the minorities must be satisfied that although we did not have our way, what has been declared is actually represents the wishes of the majority. That for me is more important than the pomp and pageantry of office.
Wow.
The people must be said to have exercised their civic responsibility, and it has counted. And the way it is counted is that lawful votes have determined who occupies the office. So let's understand that.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable when people say the courts have determined. Look,
but they did.
I repeat, the courts only determine petitions that are brought before them.
Okay.
They don't go to anybody's house to say, come and file a petition. Now, when you bring the petition, you lay down the grounds upon which you challenge the election. If you're able to satisfy it, so be it. If you're unable to satisfy it, the petition is dismissed. Now, I can read between the lines of doctor's submission, which sort of veiled reference to corruption, right? But you see, for me, you cannot say that because there is a suspicion of corruption, then the votes of people will then no longer matter, because the court will get to determine whether lawful votes have been cast. That itself defeats democracy. That itself defeats democracy. So, whilst I will not say whether there's corruption or no corruption, I've never gone through a petition that either as a lawyer or as a candidate. But the reality of it is that you cannot say because there is semblance of corruption, or in fact, proven corruption, that therefore there should be a process that does not allow a challenge to election results. And that's why I say we need to separate it. What I think we doctor speaks to is the solution to ensuring that you don't have these elections before a person is sworn into office. And I agree. To that extent, I agree. But I still believe that for democracy to work, there must be a challenge to elections where people think the elections haven't been properly conducted and the person who has been announced was not the one that won the election in accordance with the Electoral Act. The moment you don't do that, and I create a scenario taking it from Doctor. So Doctor says that, oh, the man has occupied the office, he can influence, he can dismiss judges, etc., etc. But let me paint a scenario to you. I'm a member of, let's assume, X Party. I am an outgoing governor of X Party. X Party feels somebody. That person is not. Now the act has been amended and there's enough time to carry out this election petition, determine election petitions before the party, the candidate sponsored by my party takes office. What stops me from influencing it as a sitting governor, although I'm on my way out? It's not a solution. I can still influence it. So what is important for me? Two things. One, that even politicians, of which I am one, adhere to the rules of the game. Let the votes count. That's the first thing. Secondly, is that when you have election petition, let it be determined in accordance with the law. I give an example also. Doctor talks about technicality. I always laugh when people talk about technicality. I say, what is technicality? I give a simple example, and I use football as an example. When you want to start a game, the rules are laid down. There's offside, there's foul throw, there's this, etc., etc. Right. Once you violate any of those, there's a penalty. If, for example, high tackle is a red card, offside, the goal will be disallowed. Foul throw, the throwing will be taken by the opponent. So the rules are there. If the referee abides by the rules and enforces it in accordance with the rules of the game, you can't complain about technicality. And I give another example. Let's go back to the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act talks about lawful votes and then sets out how an election should be conducted. Also, the Electoral Act says that you must have been sponsored by a party.
Yes.
Also, the Constitution, by a party. We don't have independent candidature. So somebody comes and says, you were never sponsored by a party, although you won, quote unquote, the elections. Because the lawful votes are counted for you. But the condition precedent to you for those votes to be lawful is that you are sponsored by a party in accordance with the Electoral Act. Where it is found that you were not sponsored by a party in accordance with the electoral law, then those votes cannot be lawful. Let's understand that those votes cannot be lawful because they were not cast for you in accordance with the provisions of the law. So in that kind of situation, people say, that's technical justice. It's not technical justice. That is what the law says. So let's understand that.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator. And in case you're just joining, this is Jump Out Nigeria. It's a political show that talks about the pulse of Nigeria, the present of Nigeria, the future, in accordance to what we have been through in our past. And my name again is Taye Charles Okon. I have two gentlemen, two great men on the show today. Like you always know, I will never be here alone. I have with me Senator Adeniyi Adepomi, representing the people of Ondo Central Senatorial District, and also I have as a guest a veteran journalist, publisher and editor-in-chief of Neptune Network and president of Dr. Hassan Gimber. Okay, I would like to ask doctors this question, but I think it's off for a minute. Then I will have to throw this question to you, Senator. You have also schooled us on the laws of Nigeria, and I think some things are going to be noted even after this show, like you have said in some cases. You have agreed that sometimes our laws might not what it's supposed to be, but this is what we have right now. We have to make use of it as it were right now. And there are some complications and conflicting issues when it comes to the law. Like, for instance, you are a lawyer and they say, justice delayed is justice denied. That same law says justice rushed is justice crossed. Many people believe that the law is not on the side of the person who is right, but the law is on the side of the person who is smart enough to wield it to its own advantage. Do you believe this might have played in any of these cases that has tussled out some of these governors that we're talking about right now?
Tai, I don't believe so. Let me tell you my own view about some of these things.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't say that I didn't have agreed with all of the judgments regarding political cases that have been handed down.
Okay.
However, two things that I always bear in mind. One, or let me put it different, two things people must understand is that unfortunately, because of social media, you have so many social media commentators. They read the headlines of the judgment. They don't know the facts. They've not even read the judgment. They start to condemn the bench. You know, I started by saying I don't necessarily agree with everything. But I've come to realize a lot of people don't even take the pains to understand what the issues are before they pass their comments on social media. Why? Because the judgment has not gone their way. So they condemn it. But if you ask them, okay, what was the reasoning in the judgment? They don't know. And I'll give you a simple example. You know, after the presidential election, people went to court. First Court of Appeal, Second Supreme Court. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was affirmed as the duly elected president of Nigeria. And you had a lot of people talking on social media. So I asked a friend of mine who was supporting one of the petitioners. I said, have you taken the pains to read the judgment? He said, no. So why are you condemning the judgment? First go and read it. Then when you read it and digested it, you can say, I don't agree with X, Y, Z. But you cannot come on social media without reading the judgment and condemn the bench. But I will tell you something, and I say with all sense of responsibility. I told some of my friends who acted for the other side, when I read their petition, that it was not going to get anywhere. But that's the story of another guy.
Okay, I wanted to ask why so.
Right? That you look at all the loopholes in this your petition. This petition is not going to go anywhere. But because we are very emotional people, you start to condemn the bench. Oh, our vote. Let me tell you something. Okay. And I take responsibility for this statement. I asked one of them, one of the petitioners, said he won the election. He said yes. Did he tabulate what he calls the lawful votes? So tabulated the lawful votes. Elementary petition prosecution. If you say that Bola Ahmed got 8-point-something million votes, and you say those votes were unlawful, I won, then you come and say, this is the tabulation that INEC gave. It is wrong. These are the reasons why it is wrong. This is the proper tabulation. If you look at the proper tabulation, I got 9 million, Bola Ahmed got 6 million. Did any of the petitioners say that? No. But you are condemning the bench. You say it's technical justice. So I think, whilst I do not say that everything that the bench has done is 100%, but a lot of times we vilify them when we ourselves are not taking the pains to understand how these things work. We haven't. So let's understand that. And I said that, are there problems in the electoral process? Yes. That is why you have a legislature. That's why you have the House, National Assembly. And as I've said on this program, and as a doctor himself has said, there is a need to amend to take care of this problem. Now, when you promulgate a law, people are free to look at the law when they start to practice the effect and say, look, it has an adverse effect. That is why you have a National Assembly or a State Assembly, where that law will then be amended to bring it in line with the yearnings of the people or to remove the lapses that have been identified. So
I think what you just said now, there is a question that I'm about to ask you that it's a comment from one of our viewers, and yes. I would like you to just please need that comment, that thought in the board. I will get to that. I want to ask Doctor this question. You've heard a lot. Ahmeto has told us as what the law says in Nigeria and what it is and what it should be. I don't know if you beg to disagree or emphatically disagree.
Well, one can't do than agree, because what he said is true. The law is the law, and the law is there. And that's why some people even say the law is an ass. Even if it is an ass, it is the law. And as long as we will continue talking on this line, we shall continue talking, because there is no human being that is infallible. And this is why when you have the High Court, you have the Court of Appeal, and you have the Supreme Court, and each of them can give a different judgment. Because what I see with a judge is a judge can take any side and he can bring you relevant laws backing his judgment. If A and B comes to a judge for adjudication, and this judge says A is right, he can give and adduce laws to back him. And another judge can say, no, B is the rightful winner, and he can equally bring laws to back him. So when we look at our election, our electoral process, each of the parties always claim to have won. And each of the parties will accuse the other of rigging. So, and that's why even so rigger wins. But I think to also save our sanity and to also save the sanctity and sacredness of our judiciary, not to bring them into the fray. Because once the citizenry locks up in the judiciary, and it is what is happening, despite what his son, Senator, distinguished Senator, says, the people, rightly or wrongly, are now looking at the judiciary as no longer a sanctuary for the poor man. That it is only when you are strong or when you have a certain influence, whether wealth or power. Some people can even bring the case of Ahmad Lawan from my state and Akpabio at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court justices may be right, but the ordinary man on the street thinks they are wrong. And what matters in a country is what the ordinary man on the street thinks. Because if the ordinary man on the street thinks he can no longer get justice from the country's judiciary, then there will be chaos.
Okay, let me cut you, Doctor. There is a comment by one of our viewers that I would like you to answer together with what you're about to say because of our time. Kolade says, can we say the media has played a major role in passing wrong information to the masses that might, one way or the other, has led to what we are talking about, the out-of-season election. So just say, is it possible that the media is also complacent?
This is what I'm going to say when I say therefore.
Oh, great. Okay.
We have to leave our judiciary. We have to fortify it. We have to make it likable and respected by the citizenry. Therefore, we need strong institutions. For instance, INEC. If people believe INEC is straightforward and that they are just, a lot of people who lose elections will not go to court. But for instance, when you take the case of Kogi just recently, some election results were already out in about 5 local governments, and they said we are going to investigate. Nobody had the investigation and the result, and they announced results. So whether they are right or not, people will say, wow, now. So we need strong institutions that people will see them as, yes, they are above board. Likewise, the press. But because of the penury in the land and the poverty in the land, a lot of journalists cannot tell you the truth because newsmakers, they depend on newsmakers for their survival. Politicians like the Honorable Distinguished Senator here, because everything is with them. So you go to them when you have problems. Many newspaper houses don't pay salaries. The publishers will tell you your ID card is your meal ticket. And if you are not careful in Nigeria, once they pick you and go away, no one will fight for you. Exactly. You have a family to take care to. So I agree. Some press have contributed, but some are doing their best. But most importantly is to have strong institutions. But as we are going now, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature are coming to become one. They are already one in state. There was amendment, the senior advocate talked of amendment. An amendment was made that the state houses of assembly have to accept that for the independence of the legislature in states. But when it was taken to the states, they rejected it. They rejected their independence because their governors didn't want them to be independent. So now it was only at the federal level that the Senate were doing a little gra-gra and a bit independent. But now, the National Assembly, the judiciary, somehow I'm afraid to say it, and the executive are becoming one. And they say in the interest of the country.
Okay, I think that's an indicting statement that I know, and I'm very sure Senator would like to maybe defend. I don't know. But before you talk, Senator, let me read this comment so that you can answer everything together. Oluwafemi Adeniyi says, many of these problems with our electoral process are fundamentals. Hence, the need to holistically review our constitution. But it seems lawmakers are not genuinely interested in reviewing the constitution because this current one favors them. So can you say that, let's say the 10th Senate is sincere enough to, amend these laws, this constitution, to suit the current situation so that we can move forward as a nation?
First and foremost, let me first speak to what Doctor said. I'm a member of the 10th Senate, and proudly so. One thing I can say to the doctor is that we are not in the pocket of the executive, and we are not being influenced by the executive as a lot of people misconstrue. But you see, we need to understand something. There is this perception that the legislature and the executive must be at loggerheads for democracy to flourish. No. There's a check and balance in place. And I can assure you that as I speak, at least 10 suggested amendments in the Constitution have gone through first reading in the National Assembly as I speak. But the process of bills, you start with the first reading, the second reading, public hearing, the third reading, then you take it to the House of Reps, they look at it, you have a and then so it's a long process. So the public may not get to hear until there's a public hearing on the suggested amendment. But I can tell you today, this 10th assembly that people assume has actually have started trying to look at amendments to the Constitution. That's one. Two, the Senate committee that oversights INEC is also in the process of even looking at lapses in the Electoral Act so that it can be amended to ensure that the electoral process is in conformity with the tenets of democracy, one man, one vote, which counts, and that the process is as flawless as it can humanly be. I can tell you that for free as we speak. Now, when somebody says that the Constitution favors the senators, I must confess to you, I don't know what he means about that. I must confess, but yes, I don't know what he means, because there's only maybe 10, 20 sections in Constitution that relate to the National Assembly, tenure, qualification, etc., etc. The complaints that we have about the Constitution are not complaints that relate to the Senate as a body. They are complaints that relate to how Nigeria is structured and how Nigeria is governed and how we want Nigeria to be structured. Now, Doctor has said something, and I must say I agree with him, and that is that the process of constitutional amendment is a tedious one, and rightly so. And what does he say? If we pass it at National Assembly, it has to go to all the state assemblies, where 2/3 must agree with our amendment. Where we don't get the 2/3, the Constitution cannot be amended. Now, the framers of the Constitution did it wisely to ensure that since the Constitution binds all of us as a nation, a majority must agree for it to be amended. So that everybody feels a sense of belonging. And that's part of democracy. Everybody may not agree, but a majority agrees. Now, where you don't get the 2/3, it's not the fault of the National Assembly. And I'm happy that Doctor himself said that more often than not, it starts from the states, where some states will say, we don't agree. Now, whether there were influences from the governors, I don't know, probably so. But there's nothing the National Assembly can do about that. If we don't get the requisite 2/3 majority, that's the end of that amendment. So you can't put everything in the hands of, and don't forget, even when it comes to constitutional amendments, the executive can bring a bill to say we want a section amended in the. It's not only the National Assembly that jumpstarts the process of amending the Constitution. The executive can say we looked at this thing and we want to bring a bill. That's why you have executive bills that are brought to the National Assembly. Then we will debate it. If we pass it, then it starts the process of going around Nigeria. Now, if you are unable to get 2/3, there's nothing you can do about it. You go back to the drawing board. Now, do you have political influences in the states? I agree with Doctor that yes, it happens. But that's not the fault of the National Assembly. So when somebody says that it's because it's not beneficial to us, no, the person probably does not understand how the Constitution is amended.
Okay, talking about the amendment and going around the State House of Assembly, I can remember what happened when the Nigerian Houses of Assembly, how they killed the autonomy, giving independence to the local governments in Nigeria, and that still pains me personally. So I want to ask this question to Dr. first, and the Senator will also have to answer the same question. Talking about this amendment, I know that in Nigeria, maybe I stand to be corrected, after a governor is sacked by a court, the only thing that I know as of now to be the only consequence is that such person's name should not be reckoned with as a past governor of the state. I don't know if there are other consequences, maybe you can enlighten me, but can we add to these consequences? Because like Senator said, you did not get that mandate. You stole it. You are a thief, as it were, under the law. You were paid what you are not supposed to be. You have distorted the cycle of our elections. We called you Your Excellency when you're not supposed to be an excellent person and honorable. Should there be any consequence, maybe like a jail term, refunding the salaries, apologizing to us on the television and the newspapers? Should there be something like that, Doctor?
Well, you see, this is a bit complicated. That even lawyers, even judges will tell you. Now, Governor A, sacked by Court A, in your own definition now becomes a thief and liable to be jailed. But if he appeals, the appellate court may say, no, you have won. So if you took the first judgment and now compared it to the later judgment, but that appeal court thing has wiped away that one, but that didn't mean it didn't happen. And now Court A may say, no, you have won, then they go to the appellate court and the appellate court say, no, you have not won. And it all depends on the circumstances, sincerely speaking. It may be something that in reality he has won, but just as the Senator Elias said, you might have won, but maybe due to commission, your name is not on the register of your party. There are a lot of things. I think in my own thinking, I'm not an active politician, practical one, but in my own thinking, if you have been removed by the law, that one is enough. You go home and rest and maybe think and then strategize to come back another time.
Wow. Doctor, okay, let me ask Senator the same question. And I would like to add, this one is personal from me. I have been a journalist all my life. That's what I've done. Been on the road, on the street. I've never voted. And it pains me that I've never gotten a say in electing who governs or who is my president. Because I'm not in my ballot in the voting point. In other states, I can't vote. Can we have this question to you? Can we amend this and can we be able to vote anywhere? It pains me I can't vote. I've never voted.
Tai, let me start by saying that what you are suggesting is an extremely dangerous thing. You know, one of the things that you must ensure as to sanctity of elections and election is the ability to track voters. Now, the moment you are able to track voters, where Niya Adebowale can vote presidential election in Ondo Town, gubernatorial election in Owo, state assembly in Okitikupa. That makes no sense.
Or in Sweden.
Thank you, sir. It makes no sense of democracy. You know why? Because your vote, listen to me carefully, because your vote will be counted to tabulate two things: majority of votes, but also the 25% in 2/3. So you go today, you do it in Akure because you want your candidate to have 2/3. You go to Okitipa where you know that your candidate is not doing well. You go and vote there so that he can have 2/3. You make nonsense of the sanctity of election. That is why they say your voting place is determined. But the law also allows you to move it after the general elections have been concluded. So if you move to Ibadan, we know that the next elections, you are going to have to vote in Ibadan. So I don't agree with you. Unfortunately, that's what your profession demands. I apologize for that, but it's more dangerous to allow people to move their votes all over the whole place.
I accept that from you, Senator.
Yeah. Now,
what I will accept. Sorry.
Sir?
No, I say what I will accept is non-stoppage of registration. I advocated this last week. I had a speech. Yeah, why should you say I will have no registration till next week?
Yeah.
Somebody could be 18 today while tomorrow is election.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Are you disenfranchising him till next year when he's next election when he's 22?
I agree with you, Doctor. Now, when you talk about, the Electoral Act,
yes,
from sections 114 to 129, sets out electoral offenses.
Okay.
Bribery, threatening, misuse of vehicles, forgery, etc., etc. So it provides for it. So if, for example, a man is said not to have won, and one of the reasons for him not to have won is, for example, that he forged a certificate, or he shot at people or threaten them or beat people up. The offenses are there. It is now left for the state to prosecute him. So to say that he goes scot-free, doesn't go scot-free. The offenses, electoral offenses in the act. What we should be saying is that no, it is not very prevalent now that people are charged to court for electoral offenses. However, I know that recently there were 2 or 3 or 4 cases or where people were charged to court for having violated the Electoral Act. So the law itself provides for what you say should happen. But as a doctor said, and I would say, yes, the man has been told to leave office. The state, if they believe that he forged, he did this, then the state can prosecute him. So what
if there's criminality
is that, yes, when there's criminality, and the act has said so, where you can be prosecuted for certain things. So for me, the law is clear on that.
Okay, so as we are trying to wrap up, let me take a cue from some other states who have suffered, or maybe, I may not say suffered, who are right now joining the out-of-season elections because of what just happened in their states. Let's take, for instance, Nasarawa State, where Governor Sule Abdullahi has been replaced by David of the PDP. And we know that these people, these states, are going to be joining the backlog of the people we have that will be having out-of-season elections. Let's go to Zamfara State also. You can see that in this state we are having almost the same thing, which we have now been told the election is inconclusive. They have to go for a rerun. We don't know what this is going to finally get to. And let's go to Plateau State, that we got the news today. And you can also think about what will be happening right now in that state. So on those states, we'll be having its election very soon, which is your state senator. We have been told, we have read, we have seen, we have heard, and we can perceive that it's going to be a keen contest as usual. Most people want to be a governor. And you yourself have shown interest in being the governor of Ondo State now that you are a senator. What do you expect from your people in Ondo State? Because before now, we're talking about ballot snatching. We were able to kill that to a point. Now we got vote buying. But now we have both vote buying, we have ballot snatching, we have a lot of maiming, killings, shootings. What do you expect from the people of Ondo State in the coming election?
I'm happy that you also lived so many years in Ondo State, in Akure to be precise, where I come from. The last elections,
yes,
in Ondo State, and I speak for Ondo State, I do not remember any incidents of violence in the last elections that we did in Ondo State. And my view is that for as long as people believe that the process is transparent, there'll be no violence. That's one. 2, for as long as security operatives also perform their duties on election day, there'll be no violence. You see, for me, and I believe that when the elections happen in November 2024 in Ondo State, there'll be no violence. But is it natural for you to have anxiety and apprehension? The answer is yes. Because as they say in Nigeria, the stakes are high. But it doesn't necessarily follow that there will be violence. And I don't think there will be violence. I'm not a soothsayer. I cannot see into the future. But having regard to what happened in the last general election, where, I mean, I can't remember any pronounced event or occurrence of violence in Ondo State. I don't think that there will be violence in 2024 when we go to the polls to elect our new governor.
Yeah, let me go straight to the doctor because we have a few seconds to leave. Do you trust INEC? Because we just had an election in last year, and 3 states are already, you know what is going on in Nasarawa, in Plateau, and in Zamfara currently. Do you trust INEC to give us a good election in Ondo State next year, doctor?
Well, it's not a matter of trust them or not. They are the only body recognized to do that. So we just have to pray
We don't
for
have
them.
a trust. We are
Help
stuck
them
with
while we
INEC.
can. Yes, INEC. What can we say?
Oh,
You know, the moment we begin to disparage our institutions, we are weakening our country further. But there are a lot of rooms for improvement, and I hope the senator will do a lot of things in the Senate for amendments and bundle it, do a lot of things and make it strong. Even the recruitment process, how do you appoint their chairman? How do you appoint their commissioners? There has to be a sort of neutrality, independence.
and one of our viewers, Olabode Rushewe, agrees to you. He said our constitution has to be reviewed, and that is going to be like the senator already said that is in the pipeline, but it might be another assignment we are giving you again on Jump Out Nigeria tonight, Senator, to please help us. You have the right to do this push. Tell your colleagues we are asking. If we can say we are begging, let's have a constitution that does not only sit by us, but also feels our pulse and is interested in making Nigeria the nation we can always tell anyone across the world, I am Nigerian, and we are proud to say so. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Sorry, before you go, because of this, your last statement, let me, for purposes of education.
Great.
In every state, you have 3 senators representing an area delineated as a senatorial district.
Absolutely.
You also have members of the House of Representatives representing what you call federal constituencies, which are delineated based on population.
Yes.
Now, I represent the people from Ondo Central, comprising 6 local governments, of which you are one of my constituents. If you have any suggestion as to how the constitution should be amended, it is your right to present it to me as your representative. You don't have to wait for Adeni Adegomire to push it. That's why I'm there. So, and why am I saying this? The Nigerians believe, or put differently, are not aware that is why we are there. They assume that only a bill initiated or generated by a senator or an House of Reps will see the light of it. No, you actually can have your constituents present to you. We think that these are provisions in the constitution that should be amended. It is now my duty to present it, to say this is what my constituents want. It is then the duty and obligation of the Senate to debate it and agree whether it is something, because don't forget, I am 1 out of 109. So other components of Nigeria must agree with me. So the fact that I present a bill for amendment doesn't necessarily mean that it will be passed. Other components making up Nigeria may decide that no, they don't want it. But it is your duty. So I challenge you back. If there are things that you think the constitution should now have.
You said no to me already. You said I can't vote.
Deliver it to me. Just hold on. Deliver it to me, and I promise you, I would present it to the Senate. So that's not
you can't vote,
but a challenge to all Nigerians who complain about the constitution. You have a right to present your grievances to the people who represent you, either in the House of Representatives or in the Senate.
Okay.
You can't vote, Taye. You can't vote, but if Nigeria is good, you will be happy there where you are. If Nigeria is bad, you will not be happy where you are.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Thank you, Doctor. And like he rightly said, if you have anything that you think you want the Senate to talk about, or the House of Reps, please get across to your senator or your House of Rep member in your constituency so that they can let your voice be heard where it should. I really must sincerely appreciate you, Dr. Hassan Gimba. He's a publisher and editor-in-chief of Neptune Network. It's such an honor to have you, Doctor. Thank you very much for coming our invitation. And to my own Senator Adeni Adegomire, it's nice to take an hour of your time today and, doing what you know how to do best, telling us about what is going on in Nigeria. As a lawyer, we should always have you more regularly on the show to tell us about what we need to.
And tomorrow's governor, better start having him now, because by the time he becomes governor, he won't have your time.
And I'm going to be commissioner for information by that time. Okay, that was all right.
That's it.
My name is Taye Chansoko. Thank you so very much for being a part of Jump Out Nigeria today. I think we have been able to do justice to this topic. The conversation does not end now. You can also drop your comments. You can share this program. You can like it so that every other person can learn from what you have also learned today. See you again next week, Sunday by 8 p.m. My name is Mr. H. Asokon, and have a lovely week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tai.
Thank you.
Bye, Doctor.
Thank you, Senator. Thanks a lot.
Bye.